And see, and what black folk need now, they need leadership that won't die, won't grow old, and can't be assassinated and bought off. That's the kind of leadership they need. They need institutionalized leadership. And we should have had that in the Urban League and NAACP and the Rainbow Coalition, but we never had it. We need to have some organizations that speak strictly and solely for black folk and carries the water for black folk. And right now, the Urban League and all those other groups, and some of them are good people in there. I'm not casting aspersion on all of them. There are some good people in the Urban League, good people in the Rainbow Coalition, good people in all these organizations. I'm just speaking generically that right now they don't carry water for black folks. If you go ask the Urban League, they say, well, we carry the water for poor people and minorities. And you go to ask the NAACP, they say, we carry the water for multicultural and diversity. You ask Jesse, he said, we carry the water for social disadvantage in the Rainbow. Nobody represents black folk. We need some institutional leadership. We have no institutional leadership in America, and we don't have any more charismatic leaders. And if we did have any, as I said to you earlier, they've been bought off, assassinated, and co-opted into the structure. And so the minute you see them on TV and or in the newspaper, you better run and bend and don't bend over because you're going to be had. The black leadership now, they've learned how to do what I call the moonwalk. On racial issues, your black leadership in America does the moonwalk. They give a pretense they're moving forward when they're moving backwards. And therefore, that's why black folks don't make any progress in the country. They camouflage their moves and give black folks a erroneous impression that progress is occurring. And every time you look around, they be coming up again in February. They're going to talk about how far we've come, how far we've advanced racially in this country. At the same time, we're going backwards all over America. In every major urban city in America, that's the 10 largest cities, black folk are living like animals. They are slaughtering each other, killing each other, no food, no water, no health. They are displaced, they are homeless. And yet your leadership's going to be doing the moonwalk on them, telling them how well off we are.
Wow. 800-450-7876 to speak to Dr. Anderson. We're going to go through the Powernomics book. Some folks have been home for a while. Let's go to line one. Jay's in D.C. Jay, you're on with Dr. Anderson. You have a question for him?
Yeah, my question is, why like America always say they the land of the free and this and that, and they help every other race. Why don't they help us? You understand what I'm saying? I've never understood why don't they. What's so hard about helping us? Like, you help Hispanics, but you don't help us, and I don't understand that part of it. Like, why? What's so different about us that you just don't want to help us?
That's a good question. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for your call. Dr. Anderson?
Well, they don't want to do it for a number of reasons. One reason they want to do it for you because they feel guilty about what they've done to you. And that's the first thing. And if they were to bring you out of the shadows, then guilt will emerge in them again. That's one thing. The second thing is that they are scared to death of you. They know that if they were to empower you, where you had an appropriate number of businesses, and you were an effective person in politics, and you had good, strong institutional leadership in your communities, and if you had functional communities, competitive communities with businesses, and if you had an alternative economy in America that was not dependent on the white society or any of these other societies, that would scare the devil out of them. See, if black folk had towns like Asian towns and Arab towns and Little Mexico and Little Havanas and Japan towns and China towns, that would scare the devil out of white folk. That's exactly what black folk need. They don't want you to be independent. See, whites don't want you necessarily with them, but they don't want you really too far away from them. They just want you in a state where you're just there so that anybody can pick and pluck you anytime they want to and do whatever they want, and you can't do anything about it. And the only way black folk are going to be a competitive people is to build their own and control their own resources, wealth, buy from their own people, have their own alternative economy, and place that first before trying to get along with other people, trying to compromise. Before you try to hook up with and co-op and do things for Asians, Arabs, Hispanics, and women and gays, do something for your own people first. No prince is going to marry a pauper. Take care of your own first. We don't want to do that. And that's why they don't want to do anything for you, because they're scared. Two, they don't want you competing with them. And thirdly, because they have a federal policy that says they can bring all these other people in here, and they're going to classify all these people as whites. That's why up until 1970, all the Hispanics in the United States were classified as whites. Asians were classified as whites. Arabs were classified as whites. Arabs were classified as whites. Asians were on probation to be white. And so consequently, black folk are the only people that's outside the loop. And that way, you're always an expendable group where anybody can make money off of you. That's why 97 to 98% of every dollar that black folk pass through their hands, it goes right out and it subsidizes business, Arab businesses, Chinese, Asian businesses, white businesses. You cannot support yourself or sustain yourself because you have no wealth and no businesses and no jobs. But anybody can use you to start a business because they know that you're going to have to buy from them because you don't own and control any resources. You have no drug stores, no department stores. You have nothing. You have maybe 2 hospitals in the entire United States. Black folk own and control nothing. Maybe you might have 5 blacks in America have more than a 2 or 3 story building.
And which begs the question, because you mentioned this too in your book, that we should start our own party. How viable is that, though?
And that's the most significant thing black folk can do. That, Carl, that would be the most significant. That would scare the devil out of all these other groups. It would scare the devil out of them because, see, right now your vote is totally useless. But people again, they bamboozle you and tell you about how important your vote is to vote. Why in the world would why would my vote be important if I'm outnumbered 9-1? If I'm systematically planned to be a permanent minority and I'm outnumbered 9-1, why is my vote important? Anybody that has more than a high school education would say, hey, well, if I'm only a small percentage of the population, whites can do anything they want to do. They can vote in there. They don't need the black vote. Whites don't need black vote to put Ronald Reagan in office or anybody else. Whites can put anybody they want in office anytime they want them because they got the population. And they've got these other groups that also, these sub-ethnic groups that are also classified as whites. They don't need the black vote, but they bamboozle blacks by saying you got to go out and exercise your right. And that's like having blacks taking crack cocaine because you got to go out and exercise your right. You don't go to the polls and vote to get exercise. You go there to get benefits. But they know they're not going to give you any benefits. So consequently, you get engaged in a process that you never win in. So what black folk have to say is that if I'm never going to win in politics, because I'm not playing to win, let me start playing to win. So how do you play to win? Right now, black folk would be the most powerful group in America if they were to do 2 things. First, if they were to cease and desist, splitting themselves up between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. If all the blacks in America, if 42 million black folks says tomorrow, we're going to become independents. We're going to become independents. We're not going to belong to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. Because we learned that that's called divide and conquer. If I'm stupid enough to let people tell me some of you should be Democrats, that's divide and conquer. Anybody tells you that is bamboozling you. That's like
hold that thought right there, Doc, because we got to take another break, and I'll let you finish up on this notion that we should have our own independent party and how we can work and how it will fit in. I want you to explain that to us. Folks, you can join that conversation with Dr. Anderson at 800-450-7876. We'll take your calls in about.
This podcast was recorded by BKRPodcast.com.
Thank you for staying with us, and our guest, the man with a plan, that's what I like to call him, Dr. Claude Anderson. He's the only one who's got a comprehensive plan for black folks. His book's laid out for you. Black Labor, White Wealth tells us how we got into the situation that we're in right now. We know it's dire. And Powernomics is a workbook. It tells us how to get out of that situation. He's also got a compendium of 2 books, Dirty Little Secrets, and before the end of the show, we'll tell you how you can get your hands on them. But you should have these books. I mean, we're going through Powernomics, talking about the politics here. And Dr. Anderson says we should form our own political party. And you told us that that would scare the other folks. But what else would it do, Dr. Anderson? How could we benefit from it?
Well, see, and keep in mind, Carl, I have to reiterate this on your show, that what I'm telling black folks to do in analyzing their condition and telling them, suggesting ways of countering the strategies and becoming economically and politically competitive does not mean they have to be against anybody else. But unfortunately, we live in a society that any time you try to help black folk, they think you're against somebody else, that you're teaching hate, or it's too black. See, nobody ever says anything about Jews being too Jewish or whites being too white or Asian being too Asians. But anytime you start talking about helping black folk, that's too black. But I tell black folk, don't hate anybody. Just go read these books and learn how to play the game and learn how to compete. Learn how to compete politically and economically. And one of the best ways to compete politically is if you really want to play the game, because right now your vote means absolutely nothing. You're not going to get anything. You're not going to get anything at the local level, in the city levels, directly for black folk. You're not going to get anything at the federal level for black folk. And if you go to the website and start looking up any kind of program, you see everybody there. You see programs for minorities, programs for women, programs for Asians, programs for anybody, for veterans, but you never see anything for programs for black folk. But if you're going to win, this is the way you win. And I used to be a Democrat, but now I'm an independent. What you must do is learn how to pool your votes. Pool your votes. Just like you pool your fingers and make a fist, you pool your votes and make a hammer. And what you do, you pool your votes, and how do you pool your votes? You create a black independent party. the biggest movement, if you read in my books, in that chapter, I predicted that by 2013, the biggest party in America would be the Independent Party. Go check anywhere in America. That was written almost 15 years ago. I predicted exactly what you're saying. Now, the biggest party in America is not the Democrats, Republic. It's the Independents. If blacks were to create an independent party, an all-black party, nationally, and learn how to vote as a block, and quit letting black folk get on TV and do what no other group would do, always talking about we're not monolithic, we don't all think the same, we don't all do this the same. You'll never hear another group talking about that. You'll never hear another group go on TV and talk about how disunified and disorganized they are. They always stick together publicly and do things in the best interest of themselves and their group. Black folk must learn to do the same thing. Vote as a block. And once you vote, set up your black independent party nationally, then the first thing you do is make sure that you never run any candidates. Never run any candidates for office. And your motto should be, we will vote for and support any candidate for a public office that promises the most and delivers to black folk. We don't care whether you're white, yellow, brown, or polka dot. Whoever promises the most and will deliver the resources into the hands of black folk, we will vote. And we'll give you 42 million votes. And when the rest of these people find out that they can now go out and pick up 42 million votes just out of the black community, you would see every politician in this country running over trying to court black folk. It's just like if she's the prettiest woman in town, everybody will be outside her door yelling, can I take you out? Can I take you to dinner or lunch? They would come courting black folk. They found out that blacks were voting as a block, and they will vote for whoever promises the most and delivers to black folk. And they will vote not based on partisanship, what political party you belong to. Political parties mean nothing when you're talking about getting resources. And see, black folk from the slavery time in the 1500s up to about 1860s, they didn't belong to any party at that time. But they joined the Republican Party up to the 1940s. They got nothing. Got re-enslaved and Jim Crow segregated. Since the 1940s, they've been belonging to the Democratic Party. They don't get anything. You have to pull out and vote as a solid block. Say, we got 42 million votes. We'll give you, all you got to do is promise and deliver to black folk. Make them show up in your community and come on the stage and say, and promise, here's what I'll do for you all. And say,
let me interrupt you for a second, Doc. Isn't that what some of our quote-unquote leaders do? They go to the other people and tell them, I can deliver the black vote?
Right. See, and what you said, and you can say, yeah, you can deliver the black vote, but you're going to sign a contract with us. When you come into my community, every black politician, make them come to your community. You don't go to a center to see them and listen to them. You make them come into your community. Right now, the politicians have a nasty habit of just saying, I'm going to be downtown speaking. Y'all come turn out and bring me some money. You said, no, you come into my community and come on the stage. I want you to come there. All of you come at the same time. Line them all up. You got 4 or 5 people running for the office. Have all 4 or 5 of them come at the same time and come out one at a time. Give each one of them about 3 to 5 minutes at most. And so you come on the stage before this audience and tell us specifically what you're going to do for black folk, point 1, and write it down. Say, this is a contract. Then 2, tell us in the promise that you're going to come back and give an accounting to us within 3 years of exactly how many things you carried out. And point 3, if you don't do it, we're going to have a recall and run you out of office. It's just that simple. And fifthly, don't come in and tell them about how you're going to hire a black secretary or you're going to put some basketball lights on the court. That won't cut it. We want to know what you're going to deliver in tangible benefits like wealth, businesses, opportunities, and jobs for them.